Hi guys, how are you doing? In this video, we're building a very simple AWS Lambda function using Golang. So AWS Lambda is a serverless technology where basically you create functions and you host them on the cloud and you only pay for usage. So whenever only somebody uses your functions, only then you pay for them. So there are a lot of use cases for serverless. It's a growing technology. Everybody's shifting their entire stacks to serverless these days. And I found it to be a very good fit for, let's say, if you're building an MVP, because you don't know if there will be traffic coming to that product, right? It's not a proven product, so you don't know if there's any traffic that's going to come to it. So that kind of, at least ensures that you don't have to keep paying for your servers, right? You only pay when somebody uses your product. And a lot of people use it throughout the development lifecycle, like throughout the product lifecycle, right? Like right from the POC to the MVP to actually scaling, because scaling in serverless using Lambdas is very easy because you actually don't have to write any like huge configs, right? You don't have to create servers. Everything is done automatically for you on the cloud. So it's a fully managed service. You don't have to do a lot basically, right? So you just have to focus on the business logic, which is just creating your functions, and everything else is taken care of by the cloud. It's also very cheap to use because you're not paying for the servers, right? You're only paying when somebody uses your programs or functions. So if you're building an API that's going to be, exposed to the world, and the world is going to, and there are many more developers who are using your API, then AWS Lambda is again a very good use case for that. Now, there are a few drawbacks to using AWS Lambda. For example, there's cold start, wherein if somebody's using your Lambda and basically the Lambda takes a while to start, so that's called as a cold start because there's a slight delay there sometimes. So they've tried to reduce it, but it's still there. I feel cold start problem is still there. So drawbacks will always be there, but it's a very good technology. Everybody's kind of adopting it. Everybody's using it. It's widely used, very popular. It's important, right? So it's important to learn. And so that's why I wanted to create this video, which is the basic, creating a very basic Golang function and then deploying it as a Lambda function in AWS. Now, you will find a lot of videos where people use the GUI, the AWS GUI, to deploy a Lambda function. But in this case, I'll be using AWS CLI because I did not find many tutorials. Actually, I didn't find any tutorial on YouTube which uses AWS CLI to deploy a Golang Lambda function. All right, so that's why I thought let me create one, because I don't use the AWS GUI a lot. I use the AWS CLI. All right. So now there are two prerequisites to this video. One is that you should know the very basics of Golang. And actually, even if you don't know the very basics of Golang, I'll explain line by line the whole program to you. It's a very small program, so that's probably not a big prerequisite. The second one is important. The second one is that you should have AWS CLI installed and configured on your laptop or on your whatever desktop machine, whatever that you're using, right? So that's kind of important. You need to have AWS CLI installed because, like I said, I'll be showing you the AWS CLI approach, not the AWS GUI approach, because that's something that many people have covered already, right? AWS CLI, I find it to be quicker, faster, and you don't have to leave your window. And if you're a nerd like me, obviously you like working on your terminal, you don't want to use GUI, right? Now, now the next video that I'll create after this will be a complete serverless stack that we'll be creating, right? We'll create APIs that can be exposed to the public, and those we'll create using Lambda, DynamoDB, and API Gateway. That's a complete serverless stack. That's in the video that's coming up soon. In that case, since I don't want to create very complex config files, I'll use the AWS GUI to deploy the Lambda functions and to actually configure my API gateway. But only because the configs files are going to be very, very complex, like YAML files. So that's why I want to do it on the GUI and not write those YAML files. So that's why here, because it's kind of easy, I'll just use my CLI. All right. I hope that makes sense. And even in the upcoming video, I'll create config files if you want me to. I'll show you how to do that. But I kind of prefer going the GUI route in a project that's a little more complicated. All right. That's just my personal preference. So having said that, we'll have to get started now. A lot of talking has happened. So this is my terminal, and you don't necessarily need to keep the project in a folder where your Golang is installed, right? Like go path and go root could be somewhere else. You can have the project anywhere else, doesn't matter, because we'll be using the like we always do, right? The Golang 1.12 the format that came after Golang 1.12, which was basically using go mod init, right, which can initialize your go mod file anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the root or path. But usually also I prefer keeping it in the Go root and Go path, because I've been a Golang developer for a very long time. So that's why I prefer keeping it there, but you can keep it anywhere, right? So because I'm saying this because I get a lot of questions on YouTube saying that, hey, my Go path is, configured like this, but I'm keeping my project like this. Is that okay? And do I need to keep my project in Go root? So the answer to that is you don't have to do all of that. You can, keep it anywhere. I keep my projects in the Go root most of the times, because that's how I've been doing it since a very long time, before Golang 1.12 was there, right? So you don't have to do it. I mean, the Go mod init takes care of everything. You don't have to do anything. So let's create a new directory. So we'll say lambda YT example. Okay, and so we'll cd into it lambda YT example, and here we'll just say go mod init, and to initialize, I'll say github.com/akhil/go lambda function 3. Okay, because I've created many lambda functions on my AWS account, so I just need to be sure that this is a different lambda function altogether. All right, now this is my project file, project name. And I don't have to keep the same name as my lambda function that I declare in my AWS, but I'm just for consistency's sake, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have this name, the same exact name, in my AWS lambda console as well when I declare the function. All right. So there are two parts to this video, the video will be one, but I'm dividing it in two parts, like contextually. The first part where I'll be building the Golang function with you, which will be a simple function, and the second part where we'll deploy that. We'll do the AWS configuration parts. The second part is slightly where you need to pay more attention, because that's where all the magic happens. And the first part is just creating the Golang file. So if you want to go quickly through the first part, not a problem. Just make sure that you slow down in the second part where I actually show you how to deploy the Golang functions, because there are a lot of caveats there, a lot of different working parts there, and one small mistake will completely mess up your entire deployment. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll open up our code editor. I'm using VS Code, you could be using anything else, and let me bring VS Code here. All right, and here all I have to do is I just have to create a main.go file, and we'll be just using one dependency in this entire project. That is it. All right, so this program is going to be short, and we're going to code a bit quickly. In case you're new to Golang, main.go file is basically the entry point into the project. And in this program, since it's a very small and simple program, we have only one file, which is the main.go file. All right, and the way main.go file starts with is you write package main on top, and you import a couple of packages here, other packages that you want to use in this file. And you have the most important function from where basically the control of this program starts, which is the func main. All right. And sorry, I need two packages. One is called the FMT package, and the other is called the Lambda package. So I'll say AWS/AWS dash lambda-go/lambda. All right, and we need the lambda package obviously because we're creating a lambda function. And FMT basically helps us, if you're new to Golang again, FMT basically helps us with some basic functions like printing and all, right? So Golang is very modular. Even printing is not there in Golang, so you have to import a package, which is a native package, by the way, for printing stuff, right? And all we're going to say here is we're going to say lambda.start, and in that, so lambda is basically this package that we have imported, and start is a function that that package gives us. And here we'll say handle lambda event, which is a function that we are passing to this function. All right, so this means that handle lambda event is a function that we'll have to create here. So we'll create that function handle lambda event, and it accepts something and it returns something, right? So what does it accept? It accepts an event. So we'll say my event, and it returns a response. it can also return an error if there's an error. And here we'll just basically return response, right? Now let's define what response and event are. So we'll say type, this my event and my response are two things that we'll define here. So my event is basically a struct. Similarly with my response is again a struct. So in case you're new to Golang, structs are basically your own data types that you can create, which are a combination of multiple different data types. All right. So if I'm creating a data type called my event, it's going to have name, which is a string, and JSON, what is your name? By the way, I have more than 100 Golang videos on my channel. So if in case you're planning to learn Golang, do take a look. There are a lot of different type of projects. And the way I teach Golang is that I basically show you how to build projects and not just teach the basics, right? So it has just two things, name and age, all right, event. So string, which is basically what is your name, and int, which is how old are you, and it's going to store an integer, which will be the age out here, all right? And your my response struct will just have message, which will be a string, and it'll be JSON and answer. Okay, in case you're wondering why we have to define JSON like that, we're just defining that for the purpose of Golang, Golang understands string and int. It doesn't understand JSON, right? But what we're going to send when we invoke our Lambda function, we're going to send JSONs to it, right? So that's why we have defined how it's going to look in JSON. So here in my response, you already know that my response consists of message. So we will say message fmt dot printf is a function that helps you to format your strings, and you'll say %s is %d years old. Now you have to substitute %s and d, so you'll pass those values here. So you'll say event dot name comma event dot age. So event will have the name, which let's say John, and how old are you will be the age. So all you get in the response when we invoke this Lambda function is we get John, which is %s, %string, right? The name is 32 years old, or whatever you want to send here. And here for the error, you would want to pass nil, because it passes response and error. So for the error, we are saying send nil for now. And this is what the entire program is about. I mean, that's it, 24 lines. Even if you remove these spaces, it becomes even less, but I won't remove that space. So it becomes like, let's say 22 lines. That's it. That's all we're going to test right now, right? So that you basically come to know what Lambda is, how it works. And then once you're comfortable with it, then we'll build the entire serverless stack project. All right. So now is a good time to go back to our terminal, and we'll start doing some operations here. Now I'm obviously assuming that we already have AWS CLI set up, right? And now there are three things that you want to do in the beginning itself. Now these three commands that I'll show you here are from the official Lambda deployment documentation. So if you open the Lambda documentation for AWS deployment documentation, you'll see these things, these exact same steps, right? So this is nothing new, and I'll copy and paste these in the description box below as well, so that you can copy and paste them. And also and you can easily find them on the internet, so you don't have to worry too much about it. The first command that we're going to paste here is basically a command that creates a role name, right, called Lambda X, which will have the right role policy documents, and that's what will basically allow you to access Lambda on your AWS account. All right. So when I press enter, in my case, it should give me an error saying that this has already been set up for my account. Ideally, that's what it should. Yeah. So it says an error occurred. It already exists, right? Now the second thing that you need to do is you need to go back to your function here, and you need to create a file called trustpolicy.json. And this is something that Lambda requires, right, to be able to trust the program that you've created. So I'm going to copy and paste some JSON code here, And I'll share this code with you in the description box as well. So that's all you have to do. Now these two steps, like I said, are directly from the Lambda documentation. Now there's another third command that you need to now put in your terminal. I'm not sure why it's not coming. Just one second. Yeah. So this is basically pointing to the trust policy.json document, saying that this is the role policy document here. All right. So in this case also it should give me an error because I've already done it. All right. It already exists. And now there's another command. So there are 4 commands till now, right? So this 4th command also is very similar. There's some issue with copying and pasting that I'm facing right now. So all that these functions are doing are helping you to basically set up your policies and roles and permission, all of those things. All right. So now that the basic work is done, and now Golang won't basically, AWS won't stop you from uploading and deploying your Lambda function now because you have already the trust policy document. So all you have to do now is you have to build your main.go file. So you'll say go build main.go. So it says that I have not installed this package. So I'll say go mod tidy first. This is what's really great about Golang because it doesn't let you make any mistakes, right? So you'll say go build main.go. So it's built so as you can see this main, right? This is the executable file which we want to send to Lambda. Now before you send or upload anything to Lambda, you need to have that file as a zip file. So you'll say zip function.zip and you're going to zip the main project, right? So now if I ls, it'll have this function.zip, which is the name of the file, right? So we'll call zip. Now it's possible that your particular Ubuntu terminal doesn't have this function called zip, right? So if you're on Ubuntu, it's very easy. I think it's just sudo apt install zip. And similarly, if you're on PowerShell or on PowerShell, it's also easy. I think you can use the Choco installer, package installer. And on Mac, you can use Homebrew to install zip. And it's straightforward, as in it just takes your main executable file and zips into a file called function.zip, and that's the one that you want to upload. Now comes the most important function, right? So I'll paste this function here, and then we'll have to change the name of the function. I'm not sure why I'm not able to copy and paste it easily. There's some issue. Wait. Actually, I'll just bring out my notepad because I need to make changes to that program, right? So this is the entire function that we want to basically, the entire command that we want to run right now. And all it does is it basically creates a Lambda function and it gives the function a name. And what we're saying is that this is the zip file, function.zip, and handler is basically main. Inside that zip file is main executable file. And the runtime that you need is Golang 1.x. All right. And here the name of my function is actually something else. So that's what I need to just verify. Go lambda function 3. That's the name of my function. So I'll say go lambda function 3. All right. So I'll just copy and paste this command here and I'll run it. Everything seems fine right now. One more thing that I forgot to mention is that this is my particular Amazon account ID. You need to replace this number with your account ID, all right? Otherwise, this program won't work. It's taking a while because it has to create that Lambda function, also has to upload that function.zip file. So it'll take a while. And then the last command that we'll be running will basically be for invoking that function. So in the meantime, while this function is running, I'll just copy and paste that other function here that we'll use to invoke. So as you can see, what's happening here is it's basically this function, this command will invoke your Lambda function. In my case, the Lambda function is called go Lambda function 3, right? And so this part, this I found from Stack Overflow. This is not in the documentation. If you don't do this and you pass JSON in the payload, because you have to pass JSON in the payload, right? We have to pass JSON in the payload because that's how our request and response will work. It'll be, what is your name? How old are you? Right? And sorry, let me just make this full screen. Yeah. So what is your name? Is Jim, and how old are you? Is 33. Right? That's how our function is structured in case you don't remember. This is, see, what is your name and how old are you? And the answers for that is Jim and 33. And whatever happens, like let's say even if there's an error or the response, will be formed in a file called output.txt. All right. And if you don't, so this is something that I didn't find in the Lambda documentation. This I had to find from Stack Overflow, because when I was passing my JSON, I was getting some errors. So just make sure you write this little, text here. And so this is your program. Now, if you see here, this is stopped, this is basically deployed and everything seems to be fine. And it's giving you the latest version. So your Lambda is deployed. And now you'll just say Control C. And now you want to just pass the last command. Let's try and invoking it and seeing what happens. Something wrong with my copy and paste. Let me actually start another terminal. I will cd into the directory. It's called Lambda, something like that, right? Sorry, yeah. User cd Lambda and YT example. And here, yeah, so this is the exact project that we're in. And here is where I'll just run this command. You don't have to necessarily run this command here inside this project directory, but I'm just doing it because of habit. So again, it'll take a while to invoke. So it took about 4 or 5 seconds to invoke. I say status quo 200 and execute latest version, which is called as $latest. Now, how do we know that everything worked fine? Because we need to check for this file called output.txt. So we told our Lambda that you invoke this function, and whatever output that you get by sending this payload into the function, you write that in a file called output.txt. So that's what the file we need to look for. So as you can see, there's a new file called output.txt here. You click on it and you say that Jim is 0 years old, which is wrong because it should have been 33. So that means our program is misfiring, and we need to just check for that now. So we'll just comb through our code quickly and see the issue. The issue seems to be out here because there's no question mark here. So when we're passing this here, right, as a question mark, or just remove this question mark for now. For now, just remove this question mark, because if we remove add a question mark here, we'll have to redeploy this entire function by zipping it, right? So for now, let's just change our invoking function and copying it and pasting it again here, and let's see what happens. So we'll wait for it. it has completed the execution. Now it shows Jim is 33 years old, right? So what's happening here is basically it's matching this completely properly. Like even if there's an extra question mark, it won't read this value, right? So just make sure these both statements, they match. And that's the only error that I got, and everything else seems to be working fine. So that's it. That's your complete Lambda function, and deployed to the cloud. When somebody uses it or you use it, only then you have to pay for that particular usage. Otherwise, everything is perfectly fine. So now, as you just saw, that we're having to invoke the Lambda function. Anybody outside cannot just simply call our Lambda function. That's because for that, we'll need to expose an API. So for that, we'll have to build an entire project using Lambda and DynamoDB and API Gateway. That's a complete serverless stack for Golang. That's going to be a longer video, and that's the next video that I'll be making. So thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you learned a lot in this video. Do subscribe to this channel because there's awesome content like this. I have hundreds of videos and many different projects. You can go to the playlists, check out all the different projects, and build projects along with me. You'll learn Golang really well that ways. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.